even if it was a bit rushed. Food was delicious. We are in trouble. So I live in Italy. So in Italy, usually lunch breaks are very long. And it's really prone to lend you to a good siesta. This is not allowed this afternoon, please. No siesta time. Because we need your energy, we need your thinking, we need your open criticism in this accountability session titled Soft Power of Inaccountability, the Role of Non-State Actors in Climate Action. Let me quickly say, non-state actor is the terminology used by UNFCCC for all actors which are, and I said I think in the intro, all actors which are not government negotiator representative. So that means all of us are in that category of non-state actors, unless there is a negotiator or one negotiator, a woman in this room. Is there someone here? No, we don't have that privilege. Oh, yes, we do.
So, did I get your question right? You were asking are there any negotiators?
Yes, you are a negotiator in the room. Oh, yes, fantastic. Thank you. So that means you can help us, you know, define certain things, especially when we talk about negotiation on the transparency. You don't follow transparency?
Yeah, I follow capacity building.
Capacity building. And you are negotiating for Ethiopia. Amazing. So, with the energy in the room of the after lunch, well, this is a pleasure to welcome you here. I'm Sylvie. I'm going to facilitate this session, and we're going to have as much interaction as possible between us. And we have a mix of various expertise in this room, very much expert in the room. And we're going to look at the way we are tracking or trying to track the work on locally led adaptation that is really meaningful at the grassroots, at the community level, bottom up as much as possible, but connecting it to the global process with this COP and with this non-state actor work promoting adaptation and resilience, which it took many years to have adaptation resilience focus, because even for non-state actor, the initial focus was very much on mitigation. Now, adaptation resilience are high on the agenda by all non-state actors, and action are already taking place, as we know very well. And we want to have some intro. You will receive few PowerPoints, just a few slides. First one is about the principles of locally led adaptation. And Mei Ong is with us from IIED, and she's going to take us through these principles. We're going to have some little discussions together. And then we will go to another set of slides, which is about the Sharm Adaptation Agenda, non-state actor work that is really anchored in what we call the Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action. Each time you recognize the name of a place, and that's because the high-level climate change, the presidency is hosting, the countries hosting each COP, are trying to coin some partnership and initiatives that stays over time. And so the one which is Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action is really when the role of non-state actors was promoted and recognized post-Paris Agreement in 2015, and they created this partnership, Marrakesh Partnership, for the non-state actor climate action. And in that partnership, we've been a team working together, the Global Resilience Partnership and FAO, to really promote adaptation resilience across key sectors and across key systems. And this session is really anchored in both the work from IIED for the principle for locally led adaptation and into the work of this Marrakesh Partnership, which has one engine, and the engine was really created and established at the Egypt presidency, COP27, and it's called the Sharm Adaptation Agenda, which is further accelerating the work on resilience and adaptation and trying to track progress. Tracking progress is part of the accountability that we're discussing today. And this is why we're going to share that with you, because there's some elements of accountability and tracking progress. We would like to hear if it makes sense with all of you, right? And we will do that by roundtable. With this, May, if you would like to take us to the first part of these extremely important principles, I pass you the mic because of the filming recording of the session.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Right, so who in this room has not heard of the LLA principles? Don't be shy. Yes, it's okay. Great. So the great thing about talking about the LLA principles is that we have some organizations and individuals here that have basically created the LLA principles. So thankfully we have Sheila here, and we also have Huawei Commission, who really made these principles happen. So what are they? They are a set of 8 principles that have been formulated recognizing that local actors at the front lines of climate change are not getting the resources and the power and the agency to really implement climate action on their own terms. And so these 8 principles encompass a number of different things, including elements around resource flow, around governance and decision making, and they also talk about how climate finance programs should be, that they should be flexible, and they should enable learning. But I can go through them in detail later. They were launched in 2021 at the Climate Adaptation Summit in the Netherlands and co-developed collaboratively with a whole bunch of organizations representing grassroots organizations, organizations like my own IIED, as well as donors and other intermediary types. Yes, what else is there to know about them? We are talking about them when it comes to accountability because you can actually endorse the principles if you believe in them. And so we are at a stage in our LLA learning journey where over 130 organizations have endorsed the principles. It includes all of the 4 vertical climate funds under the UNFCCC. It includes big bilateral donors, such as Denmark and Italy. So it's one thing to endorse the principles, but it's another thing to actually do them. So how do you do them? So that's where we can try to connect the learning around indicators, metrics, but also reflect on how useful are indicators in this accountability approach. Currently, our systems of accountability are so top-down. They always require reporting from the bottom to the top. So the onus is on local communities to do the work of proving that their lives are being improved, or that, or not. But only in the framework that somebody else has designed. Is your life getting better? Can you use these indicators that we have provided to you? So that's the challenge we're at right now. Okay, so let's go through the principles. The first is on devolving decision making to the lowest appropriate level. And this is around making sure that local actors have agency in decision-making over what it is that they should be responsible for and for implementing climate action. And so local jurisdiction can come in a variety of ways. Is the appropriate decision-making at the household level? Sometimes it's not. Maybe it's at the state level or at the ward level. So we have, they're quite flexible, the the locally led adaptation principles on this regard. The second is that locally led adaptation should be transformative and not business as usual development. It should actually address structural inequalities faced by women, children, youth, the most marginalized within society. The third and fourth relate to programmatic elements of climate adaptation programming. So the third one says that climate finance should be patient and predictable, and it should be more easily accessible. Patient meaning that it should understand the local realities on the ground, that sometimes there are disasters that happened and you can't implement a project in the tight timeline that you said you could. So they have to be flexible to those conditions, and sometimes personnel move on, and climate programming needs to be considerate of those issues. Unpredictable. Is the funding going to run dry after this first 6 months that I'm implementing the project? It needs to be predictable. The fourth is that it should invest in local capabilities and leave an institutional legacy. This is about making sure that there is sustainability of the program and the work that it has, the capabilities that it has established over a long period of time, and not something very short-term that has no lasting impact. The fifth is about building robust understanding of climate risk and uncertainty. So as the locally led adaptation principles, they should consider the climate risks and vulnerabilities on the ground and the uncertainties in different local contexts. The sixth is about flexible programming and learning, kind of related to the patient part, that learning should be two ways, that providers, intermediaries should learn from communities and vice versa, that programs should be adaptive to contexts on the ground. The seventh is ensuring transparency. We want to see how much money is going where, to whom, and why. And this should be two-way, not just one-way reporting upwards. And the last is collaborative action, recognizing that there are lots of programs very similar with sexy titles, but all doing the same thing. So there should be more coordinated efforts to make sure that climate adaptation programming is collaborative and jointly collaborated. So I will leave it at that, and I'd love to hear from our community leaders to reflect on what these LLA principles mean to them. So should I pass it back to you to?
If you want, yes. Yeah. Thank you, May. This is really an amazing piece of work. And just a quick question, you said you have more than 50 stakeholders or partners that have endorsed this? Or no?
They designed them. They were 50 stakeholders designed the LLA, more than 50 stakeholders designed the LLA principles, but over 130 have endorsed so far.
So there is still room for endorsement?
Absolutely. Is this is FAO endorsing right now at this very moment?
Exactly. I'm doing a question for my own organization. Okay, May, this is really, really important, and we'd like to hear maybe from a leading grassroots woman and chair of the High Commission, Violet. If you be kind enough to share your, I know High Commission has been contributing to this process, but you're also leading your community, and maybe you could tell us how is this principle working? How does that, apply for you? And that from that, local reality of what you're doing in adaptation and resilience, and really climate resilience development. I'll give you the microphone. If you want to stay where you are, I think it's okay with the filming. Is it okay? I don't know. Maybe, if you don't mind, yes. If you don't mind. And I think for the camera, it would be good if you come this way. Thank you, Violet. And you can take the mic. You'll have to come to be visible this way. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, and good afternoon. So I just want to say that as you brought, Wairu Commission was among the organizations that started developing the locally led adaptation. When we didn't actually say we were developing principles, but we used the experience of grassroots women in the work we are doing around building resilient communities. And we were comparing, when we start doing our community resilience activities, what experience do we have that make us be able to work effectively with partners in a way that we are able to also build the critical mass of grassroots women and also enhance capacities and ensure that we are all moving together as a collective. So this experience that came in a principle, I will begin with talking about devolving decision-making at the lowest appropriate level. This is a very important principle that we have worked with as grassroots women. If I give my own example in Kenya, Kenya has a devolved government system which is called county government. And agriculture has been devolved. Programs around climate change fall into agriculture directly because we are in a rural community where the main source of livelihood, food production, is agriculture. So this is the office. The agriculture office is the department that takes on the climate resilience activities, as much as we have other programs around climate disaster that fall in others, but this is the one that carries the bigger burden of implementation. One of the things we realized was that as much as this government system, the agriculture department, has resources that is supposed to reach the common citizen, the grassroots women groups that are organized, that are working on resilience, there was a gap. There was a gap in planning. There was also a gap in how resources are reaching. So the resources ended up going in wrong priorities and also reaching wrong groups that were not consistent. Maybe the ones that just emerge because they are resources. So as grassroots organization, we had a fund that we call Community Resilience Fund, which we have developed over a period of time. And we learned from this fund from one of our groups in India and also tried this fund. So with this money, the grassroots women were able to start doing things like risk vulnerability mapping. And then they would bring these plans and share with government. When they share with government, then they develop collective action plans. Under this, when they develop collective action plan and share responsibilities on how the government and what will be the role of government, what will be the role of community, what is the role of farmers, what is the role of other actors. This brought grassroots women at the center of decision making, at the center of implementation, executing these plans, and even ensuring monitoring of these plans and tracking what government was doing, being able to share frequently, to look at how the progress was going, changing the plan if there is need, or continuing with the plan, replication and adoption. So that gave us every reason to look at when the communities are at the center of decision making, when the power shift is balanced, such that communities have power, government have power, and other actors, including banks, all have power, what changes? So this principle has really worked for us. We have had communities that are in our community where we develop tools that we share with government, and the government adopts them to become tools that they are then able to use and replicate and continue with adoption. And these tools, some of them, like I have the community land lease guidelines with me, that have been adopted fully to become government policy guidelines that is working. And now they are on the second level of how these policy guidelines will be a national level policy on access to land to ensure land restoration, to ensure more communities can participate in land activities or access and on land towards climate smart agriculture. Then I don't know if I'll finish all of them with my time. So generally, I just want to say that when you look at the first process that I talked about with the first principle, it needs patience. It needs you to be able to predict when the communities have resources, what other resources are with the government, how are we going to ensure that the resources that we have, we are going to leverage all these resources to support the action plan that we have. So we're not just looking at one entity of resources, but multiple resources, and where are these resources. We also look at how we build our understanding with each other, learning from each other, positioning grassroots women, not just as beneficiary, but as change agents and also an entity that the government can learn from. We have had things like learning centers that have been established by grassroots women, which we work together with the government to develop these learning centers on climate change adaptation practices. The government are supervising, the extension workers come to this place, the grassroots women or farmers are also coming to the same place. So we are all learning with the knowledge, both indigenous knowledge and the knowledge that the government has. We have climate change information, also focusing on science and how science also, the local knowledge also informs science, which broadens our understanding on how we want to address and look at the issue of climate information, local knowledge practices, and many others. So I just want to say that in a summary, when you look at all this, it really answers to all these things around flexible programming and learning. There needs to be patience to learn from each other, to listen to each other, to convene meetings, to make action plans on what meetings you need to have dialogues that are really bold, like really telling each other, this is not working, or this is where you are not delivering. Because if you share responsibility and the community are involved in monitoring, then the community also need to tell you, here we are failing as this institution. The irrigative program that is in the government that is supposed to be supporting this project has not worked very well. The extension service is not working effectively. So we all tell each other in bold. Thank you so much.
It's brilliant, Violet. It's fantastic because you've been giving us very concrete examples of how does it apply to your work, but also made this clear recommendation about how you build trust. You have to be very bold. You have to have this very honest dialogue. And very important, the start point, which understanding the risk and doing this mapping of the risk and vulnerabilities and making these community plans, linking that to the resources and the process of the decision making to your community resilience funding. I think you've touched on all the essential elements that you're leading on. Really, really fantastic. We have another grassroots woman leader with us, Esther Lodou. You're coming from very far away from the Pacific Island, Solomon Islands, right? And we would like to also ask you a question. I don't know how much familiar you are with these principles. Maybe you are. We didn't have this conversation before. And if you don't mind coming here up front and just share with us your reflection. How does it work? How doesn't work? How much you imply these or not? That would be very interesting for us. We don't want to put you in spot and difficulty. Just be very genuine perception, reflection. Thank you, Esther.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Esther Londo. I'm from Solomon Island. Solomon Island is just, sometimes you cannot see in the map. Yeah, but I was very glad that we have partnered with World Vision. Yeah, so that's why World Vision and FAO, they organized my trip to come here, and I was very glad. I was in tears. Sorry, I'm in emotion because I come in the role women. I work with the women groups and the youth groups, and then we have one local NGOs, that's Custom Garden. Custom Garden is like a local NGOs, which is it's not a really big organization. Yeah, we have struggled to form that organization. We do farming also. And we work with the women's group, we work with young people, and we work with hospital and the schools also. And my work is the trainer. I have to do training in agriculture. Mostly we do training in agriculture. And then we have to organize to the communities. We have a lot of provinces in the Solomon Islands. We have to travel on the other provinces and to another provinces. It takes like, my fare from Honiara to Gizo is like from Honiara to Brisbane. It's very expensive, yeah. But I'm really glad to share that Custom Garden, we do trainings in the communities. We do garden community, which we collect planting material to bulking on that places, which is it's good when we can do farming in the dry land or the wet land, or we do some farming in the atoll island, which is no proper good soil on that island, but we can manage to grow food so that it can help women in nutrition and the children. So mostly we work we work with the Ministry of Agriculture to do training farming in the rural communities, which is sometimes it's very hard, yeah. Sometimes the women need tools and transport to do trainings on that main area where we are doing farming in climate change. Because sometimes we have like one disaster, flood, recovery from Golden Canal, that's from Honiara. We have to do some work, like we have to provide planting materials, and then we do some seed saving. So if the disaster comes, but we have seeds, we train farmers to grow their own crops, and they save their own seed so that they can supply to Custom Garden when the disaster comes. In climate change, then we have to go and give the seed to the farmers so they can plant their own crops. I think, so we have a lot of trainings in agriculture, like seed saving, soil management, we have small livestock, also we have food process. We train the farmers to grow their, especially the women, they grow their own food, like food, root crops, and then we train them how to make food process, so they can make chips out of banana, cassava, potato, and they can sell that product, and they can help themselves.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you. This is fantastic work. And you're funded, you're funded by international money, NGO. You're supported mainly by World Vision here, right? Yes, so bravo to World Vision. Thank you, Esther. And it's an honor to have you with us, and I hope you enjoy being in this global discussion from far away. With this, we would like to turn, I think we have another 20 minutes or something, not so much time. We'd like to turn to the next session, which is really related to from the principle to some idea of a matrix of tracking progress on adaptation and resilience. That's something that we try to make sense from the global to the local, from the local to the global level. I'd like to welcome Daniela to take us through a few slides, and And then we'll work in different groups to give the feedback. Daniela is the tracking and monitoring specialist with the high-level climate champion team.
Thanks, Sylvie. Hi, everyone. Yes, I work for the High-Level Climate Champions team, specifically working with the Sharm El-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda. And my slides aren't showing, so 1 second. There we go. Okay, perfect. Full screen, yeah. Here we go. Maybe this one. It's not showing.
The clicker?
No, not the clicker. So we have a tech. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thanks. Okay. Well, we get technician going. No worries. I'll look at the slides and then we'll get them. Yeah.
She's getting the technician for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, hopefully many of you have heard of the Sharm El-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda already. But if not, this is one of the two main initiatives that the climate champions are currently pushing for. One being SAA agenda, but also we have the Race to Resilience agenda. Now, both of these are really looking to target the full adaptation and resilience theme and really think about how can we make sure that, like stories like Esther's and Violet's, how are we capturing this information that's being driven at the local level and being able to report on it now at the global scale, especially with so many kind of frameworks and initiatives going on and requirements now. And especially, I think one of the main areas that we often see as well is how do we get people in the finance sector to start wanting to invest more funds, right? So what kind of data do we need to start showing them, or what kind of information that we are seeing at the local level really helping us kind of shape that narrative and make sure that we can get that push. Well, I was going to show you a QR code, but I guess you won't get that. Just to also mention that the Sharm Agenda launched the report, its recent report of 2024, so that is accessible now online. And shout out to Miriam, who is the lead for the Sharm El-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda and really helped get that forward. So more information there as well in case you want to get to that. Yeah, we can't. Okay, yes, he's coming. Okay, but to talk a little bit more about the Sharm El-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda and what it specifically does, related to what May was saying, you know, the principles of locally led adaptation. So the SAA actually does endorse the principles, and it is ingrained both in SAA and Race to Resilience, but it's ingrained in the work that we're doing. So we do really consider those and are using those to help us shape what should we be looking for in terms of now the tracking and the measuring and being able to understand that. Oh, perfect. This is exactly the one. Thank you. Okay, so what I was mentioning, we are using those principles, and part of what we did as a first step was start to try to, next one? There you go, perfect, thank you. No, there you go. Skipping ahead. And it works now?
Right.
Okay.
And left.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay, thank you. So using those principles and then using the idea of what we're seeing with such a large range of partners across our ecosystem, we started formulating these different areas and systems, system categories that we're using to help us start thinking about what is currently being driven or being seen in these specific areas at the local level. So you see everything from, for example, food and agriculture system, health systems, human settlements, coastal oceans and systems, infrastructure, water and natural systems, and I will say the last two here at the bottom are our cross-cutting enablers, where we really focus on how does this really interact with all our previous systems, because we really think that these will help, you know, you'll see them in all of them, so what can we actually say about these? And this is just to kind of highlight some of these main partners that we've currently work with, we continue to work with, but it's not to say this is the only one. We have such a large range, over 90 organizations that we are actively working with, and we're trying to bring them to the table to help us in this development. Now, in terms of our actual approach, each of our systems, we of course want to be able to start thinking now, what are we actually targeting? What are we trying to measure? So what was developed was actually the outcome targets, or what we also know them as is solutions, of what are we actually looking for in each of these systems to be able to say that we are going towards adaptation and we are improving the resilience of people. And so you'll see under each of these categories, kind of a few of those themes of what we're actually looking to measure. Now, kind of what Sylvie was saying, this can get very complex, and what we're trying to also do is help simplify this a bit more, because doing just quantitative data won't help, and you can't always measure everything in a specific number, because maybe it takes time. We know that with adaptation and resilience, it takes time as well. So what else can we do? So what we've started developing is now what we're calling the tracking process. And I'll put this down. And this is more of we're trying to create this new, more flexible approach, which really looks at the signals of change to help us understand the different actions and initiatives that are being done, using, again, those principles and those systems as the priority aim. With the idea that the signals of change will help us both with the agenda, what we see on the left, think about how are the different changes happening that are enabling for finance, for policy, that are then contributing again to those solution targets. So it's kind of helping bridge that gap between the actions that are happening on the ground and those targets that we need to start measuring at the end. What is in the middle that will help us really understand that progress? Are we going in the right direction? Are we going in the wrong direction? How fast do we need to speed it up? Now, the reason we also bring the Race to Resilience, just want to briefly mention, is because we also, with our other, with the campaign for the Climate Champions, this really focuses on the people aspect of making sure that people are already committing and pledging to how they're making people more resilient. Now, through this initiative, we do focus on making sure that they provide like their accurate data or their data, and we do interviews to make sure that we're understanding that. But just to say, with the people aspect and our system aspect is how we really see that the signals of change will help us start thinking about how is adaptation and resilience really being pushed forward. So yeah. And yeah, of course, all of this is meant to be so that we're collecting information from our partners directly and from organizations who are working locally. Okay. And last but not least is kind of wanting to show you a bit about our opportunities to accelerate progress. So where are we now? The framework that I showed you, this is just the start. And as Sylvie said, we're here to present this to all of you as non-state actors who are actively working in this space to help us understand, what can be useful from this? What do you see as a potential challenge? And making sure that we also incorporate that into our development. So what you'll see here for our next steps, the first one's really just thinking about our effort to advance tracking, really thinking about that transformation on adaptation for both people and the system. This is an iterative process, so this isn't the only session we'll be having. We are planning in early 2025 to start kind of a more comprehensive consultation process where we start bringing a couple more groups so that we can start getting their input and start incorporating that into our framing. The second one is really thinking about bringing the different actors again to help us really think about the tracking approach, the feasibility, and identify improvements. And this is what I would really say is kind of piloting, right? Like, how is it that we can use the framing that we've developed to start thinking about how does that work into your tracking format or what you need to be reporting on, and seeing if it's working and then making sure that that kind of helps us refine. And then lastly, but not least, is we will be contributing, and we have been contributing to the Global Goal on Adaptation and the UAE Belém work program. So that is something that we're actively working in, and we will continue to do so as we're developing our approach. We're making sure that it remains aligned, but we also can contribute, any new findings and opportunities that we're seeing with our own partner organizations, that we can collaborate and incorporate that into the feedback of these different work streams. And with that, yeah, I'll leave it back to Sylvie. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniela. A big clap. Maybe I'll put it back to the, can I use this here? To the previous one? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Daniela. And you can see very well when we talk about accountability, transparency, inclusivity, reporting, you've heard the perspective from Violet and Esther, grassroots community level, and leaders. And you see here an effort of what we're trying to do at the global level with the high-level climate champion. And connecting, I think our negotiator just left 1 minute in the room, but connecting to the UNFCCC system. Because when we talk about the global goal on adaptation, that's one of the global goal from the Paris Agreement and the Convention. And the Berlin Work Program, this is all about indicators. Guess how many indicators we have in the short list on the GGA, Global Goal on Adaptation? 5,000. Is it thousands or hundreds? Thousands. Was it 5,000? I thought it was 500. But whether it's 500 or 5,000, does that make sense? Do we have 500 needs or 5,000 needs, human needs, when we are in a life-threatening crisis? I see a nice smile in the face of Sheila. Yeah, okay. Let's leave this aside. I would like now, if it's possible, that we have 4 tables. Maybe we distribute a bit more evenly if we are more numerous in that table. And we have a conversation, a group conversation, because we would like, as Daniela very nicely put it, this is a draft. This is a proposal, and we're welcoming our climate champion idea to having an open process in the same vein that what the locally led adaptation principles have done. The consultation, the enriching, the validation of an idea of tracking, a shared common idea of tracking progress on adaptation resilience. How can it be meaningful for the maximum people, and especially the team here around the room? So this would be the first time that we are discussing that with this group. And I would really like to ask you, does it make sense? Doesn't make sense? And what would you like to recommend so that we improve this? I say we because we are part also of this support. We all together. It's to serve everyone anyway. So these are the 3 questions. If you could try to group so we're looking at this tracking progress, not so much about what we call the solution target. I'll give you an example. X number of hectares of mangroves being rehabilitated. That's what we call a hard target. You can measure it, it's on land, it's number of trees. Okay, so that is the sort of hard target indicators. And this is what is making adaptation work so complex, is that you need quite a number of these targets. So these are the solution targets. But now here, and this is why this session is going called the soft powers, this is more linked to some of the processes. What are we doing? How are we doing things so to make sure we track the efforts going to the delivering of these targets, whether it's 45, whether it's 500, whether it's 5. We're not discussing that here. We're trying to have a sort of a metrics easy enough on adaptation and resilience that can capture the signals, the positive signals of the efforts that we know is ongoing today by all non-state actors. So we have, I would say, about 15 to 20 minutes to have this discussion around each table. And you have, for each table, you have a sort of reference person, facilitator, that can animate the conversation, takes notes on the flip charts, and that will come back and have 5 minutes to say the findings, We collect that and then we end the session. Right? Now, the facilitator, expert person. We have Panhi, also water expert. We are not going to discuss the sort of systems for this tracking. That was an idea. You can discuss it around food, around water, around shelter, around nature. Do it if you wish. In this case, these are tracking processes which are valid across systems and sectors. So we have Panhi on this table. Some of you, if you want to come on this table, you're welcome. If you want to stay, yes, yes. Or we want to group in 3 tables? Yes? As you wish. Yes? Okay, okay, we'll have 3 tables. And then we have Katie, you're ready to help us? Yes? You ready to help us? Fantastic. You have your flip chart. I hope we have pen. Yes. Yes. You want to Tu nous aides, oui? You're ready to help us? Ça c'est Marie. Marine. Oui. Marie will be your facilitator. Yes? Be bold. What works, what doesn't work? How to improve? Sorry? If you want to do it quickly, we have until 3:15. We have half an hour to discuss and report back. So we're a bit tight, but you can we're a bit tight. One other piece, a little quick additional advice. If you want to also use and bring in some of the principles that are still there also, you're welcome. Sorry to interrupt, we have to end. We have not going to be able to wrap up. I'm sorry. Can I? So sorry, and a big clap. I think it was wonderful. We have 5 minutes left. I would like to ask each facilitator of the table to give us just a little flavor, not a compte rendu, no. No accountability on that, but having a flavor of what is the feeling, what did you hear from your table, how is that working, not working, just a glimpse of the discussion. And then I would like to ask Mariam Alam, who's with us, and she's the head of the Sharm Adaptation Agenda, to see what she has heard, to close us. Do you want to start, David?
Okay, perfect. Can you all hear me?
No, I think you're being filmed, so you need that. Just very quick.
Okay, we'll be very quick. So yeah, we had a fantastic discussion with everybody, and we have several proposals for what we can integrate into these signals of change to make sure that we're really capturing the whole process and not just these end goal indicators. So we were talking about a system and people-centered approach, and that we really need everyone to be part of the solution, and the system has to capture this. We were talking about a rights-based approach, that we need to ensure that human rights are integrated throughout this process in a way that gives agency to people on the ground. Under collaboration and partnership, which is one of the categories here, we want to be making sure that we're not just indicating who the partners are, but what are the qualities of these partnerships? Are they at different levels? What are the diversity of the different actors that are being engaged? And that moves beyond just listing who the people are. We also, sorry, I need to make sure I can read my own writing. We need to make sure that the communities are involved in decision making, and how so many of the systems that we exist in are remnants of the colonial systems that were built, and that disruption should be an indicator of progress. So we should be looking at, okay, how much are we disrupting the system, and then using that as a way to assess how much progress we are making. And also we spoke about how the LLA process, it really gives people a demand to be listened to in a space, to have their voice heard. And some examples of that were informality, access to decision-making around care roles, and how these topics were not so prominent in discussions until quite recently. And that's really in part due to the LLA. And then youth and future generations. And maybe I'll end here because I know we're limited for time, but I'll make sure to communicate the rest of the points to you. That without listening to the youth, we're not progressing, and we need to make sure that climate justice is really integrated into the process, and trying to identify through the signals of change where we can do that. So yeah, thank you all for your conversations.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I will keep it super brief. We talked a lot about process actually, and how this fits with other processes, and you know, how to be complementary with, for example, things like the GGA for better force, and how to account for gaps. Also, we had the wild idea of just picking 193 indicators, one for each UN country, because we have to pick a number somehow.
Oh, wow. Amazing. That was very brief. Hi, everyone. I'm Marine from the Ocean and Climate Platform. First of all, there was two important feedback on the signals of change. First one was it would be helpful to have more definition of what the difference are, including, for instance, climate empowerment, and that it would be very good to have leadership as well up there. So this was the two feedback on that. Then we had a very big discussion actually on quality of the involvement and the participation of the different stakeholders. We covered a lot of points in terms of finance, knowledge, institutional legacy, so a lot of different themes. And one thing to conclude, let's say, was the self-reporting. That was really important. Also asking, if we're talking about, you know, really being bottom-up, also making sure that this reporting is bottom-up as well, so through self-report. So in just a few words, that's what we discussed.
And with this, Mariam, if I can ask you to come in front because of the filming, yes, we are recording this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sylvie, for putting me on the spot, but I'm happy because the first thing I want to start with is a vote of thanks to everyone in the room. Happy Sunday, everyone. And thanks for dedicating the time and coming. I think that's the beauty of the adaptation community, really. Like-minded, passionate, and just really advocating for the cause from the ground up. So just thank you so much. It's Mariam, and I work with Sylvie from FAO and the Global Resilience Partnership, together with a number of actors, so from diverse fields. So in the work of the Climate Champions team, where I work together with the GRP and PAO, our resilience focal points from the UNFCCC process, we work with all kinds of partners, so from cities, businesses, local communities, indigenous people, you name it. We are happy to work with that and connect them to the process. So this has been really one attempt. You consider that as an advanced draft, and we very much value the inputs. This has been developed based on the work that we have seen through the partners. And it's really intended to show a direction of travel and a way. When we speak, we are trying to connect the dots between communities that may not necessarily speak together. So this year we've been engaging with local communities and networks. We've been engaging with philanthropies. We've been engaging to businesses. And what we're trying is bringing the worlds together and having a people angle and a people lens, like Daniela has mentioned earlier, bringing the worlds of system change and those who have long been focused on the economy, on the industry. We need a business case together with a lens of people, knowledge, local leadership, and bringing that from the ground up. And it's all the work of the partners that are leading on the ground. There are many of you. So stay in contact with us. I think there was a barcode that we lost somewhere to the report, and it also includes a way of reaching out to us. And the work continues. And yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. don't know why it's not working. And we're always on a process of continued refinement. We want to make sure that we're adequately bridging the work of the partners in the local communities all the way to to plug it into the global goal and adaptation process to ensure that this grassroots information flow all the way up. So the signals of changes, we have them always, we try to see through them the direction of travel. And we try to see what are the emerging innovations, what are the emerging partnerships. And I think on the table I was sitting on, there was a call for leadership, building local leadership, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Local leadership exists, but translating that into government actors and this connection that we need, because it takes, I think many of us are like-minded, but sometimes you need that change maker, particularly in when we reach out to government, they need to be on the same line of thinking, and that's what we can also work on bridging through this. So thank you very much, and we'll be looking forward to connect with you again, and do stay connected with us. This is the report, and there is a barcode inside the report where you can scan and provide your information. I will be reaching out to you. Thank you all.